Yeah, I'm Nicole Vargas. I live in Saline, Michigan. I've always been curious if Superman ice cream actually originated here in Michigan. Well, it's really fun, obviously, because of the color, but are there Superman connections in Michigan? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it, so it seems like a weird choice for Michigan, but I like it.
This year, Food and Wine magazine named Superman ice cream the most Michigan-y ice cream. The most Michigan-y. Blue like the Great Lakes, red like a sunset in South Haven, yellow like, I don't know, Detroit streetlights glowing after dark, whatever. You get where I'm going here. It's Michigan. Michigan made in scoopable form. But how old is this seemingly timeless treasure of Superman ice cream? Who made it first? And as Nicole asks, is it indeed from Michigan? Is it really the most Michigan ice cream flavor of all time? We're getting the scoop for you today. This is On Hand, a podcast about all the things that make Michigan unique. I'm April Baer.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Superman! Yes, it's Superman!
Digging into this story for us is executive producer and ice cream enthusiast Laura Weber Davis. Laura, hello.
Hey, April. And it's like probably any food subject is like any junk food story is my specialty.
Let's set the table here. What is the flavor of this tricolored treat? I've never really had much success getting my finger on that.
All right, right, good. Okay. So the blue color is Blue Moon. I mean, nobody disputes that. But people do dispute what the flavor of Blue Moon is. We can get into that if you want to. But red is either Red Pop, like Faygo Red Pop, or cherry.
Spot on.
And then the yellow flavor is lemon or vanilla. And depending on what brand of Superman or Superman-esque ice cream you buy, they have a combination of those flavors. But it all kind of comes out in an amalgamation that is similar. It is fruity, it's tart, it's smooth, it's childlike, and it kind of tastes like, for me, it tastes like almost like the milk from Fruit Loops. You know what I mean? At the end.
Wow.
And maybe it's just the colors that make me feel that way, but it tastes distinctly like childhood.
Yeah, for me, it's joy. It's pure joy. I get the cotton candy forward a lot, depending on, who made the Superman ice cream brand that I'm eating. But I don't know. It's just
what do you taste?
It's the tartness, but I don't know. There's something about it that is sort of borders on sorbet flavors. I love it personally.
Yeah, but not sorbet texture.
Right.
It's decidedly ice cream. It's creamy.
You grew up in Michigan. Did you like Superman much as a kid?
I sure didn't. Ice cream was chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, mint chip, butter pecan, and that was it for me. So when Superman really hit the scene, I wasn't prepared to go for the full kaleidoscope. But I will say, while researching this, I became like a kind of a fan. So I have turned the corner only 40 years later.
There's something about the name of it, though. I really think that's something to do with the popularity. Superman!
Yeah, when the ice cream really becomes, when we see it accelerate in popularity, is in the early to mid 80s is when it really started to be advertised in newspapers. And if you remember, it's really the time when the Christopher Reeves movies were taking off.
Superman, help us!
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Superman. Big one's just as strong as Superman.
General, would you care to step outside?
The adventure continues in Superman 2.
And these movies were
just wildly successful.
Exactly. It was a cultural phenomenon. And at the same time that these movies were accelerating in popularity and Christopher Reeves and everybody's singing the theme song, so too do you see in old newspaper clippings advertisements for Superman ice cream really accelerate throughout that period.
So is that when the popularity of Superman ice cream really kind of had its wave? Was the 1980s?
Not if you ask the internet. I just Googled it before I walked in here, and this is the thing that drives me crazy. If you ask the internet, it is an old-timey flavor. and it comes from the Prohibition era.
Did you know that Superman ice cream comes from the home of one of Michigan's biggest passions, a brewery?
But according to legend, the first time a Superman-style ice cream was ever distributed was during Prohibition.
Between 1920 and 1933 by the Stroh Brewery Company.
In 1933, the owner converted the beer brewing facility to produce non-alcoholic products, including the first red, yellow, and blue Superman ice cream.
And the thing that really makes this story hard to report about where, when, and how Superman ice cream started is that when you do these Google searches, you get some really definitive answers. And they all come back to this central statement, which is this. Superman ice cream started by Stroh's in the 1930s when Stroh's switched from manufacturing alcohol to manufacturing ice cream during that Prohibition era. End of story.
Wow. I mean, that kind of hits.
It sounds great, but there are two problems with that. One, Superman the comic came out after Stroh's started making ice cream. And two, Stroh's Ice Cream, the company, doesn't take credit for starting Superman ice cream.
Really?
No. Well, at least not to my interactions with them. I have never seen them publicly comment on the beginning of Superman ice cream, and I should note it's now called Super Rainbow by this company. And when I started working on this story, I emailed them, and here's what she said.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for reaching out. I connected with our brand team, and unfortunately, we don't have anyone with historical information to discuss.
That was it.
So we're not sure actually if Superman started with Stroh's, and Stroh's will not confirm or deny. Is there any place else we can take this from here?
The history of it's hard. Remember that the question is actually not from Nicole about who started it, but did it start in Michigan? And that's a little easier to get our arms around. If you go into newspaper archives, nearly all of the early advertisements for Superman ice cream are from Michigan ice cream parlors and Michigan-based brands. And one of those early brands, a pioneer you might say, is Hudsonville ice cream from West Michigan.
Hudsonville. Okay, so theirs is the Super Scoop. I've seen that in the grocery store.
That's right. But they still, like most of these brands, were originally calling it Superman. But you can imagine that, they don't have the naming rights to Superman.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's DC Comics IP.
Yeah, if you go and you look at trademarks and you type in Superman, it's all coming back to DC. And so I reached out to Hudsonville now to talk about Super Scoop, and they said, sure, yeah, they'd love to talk about Super Scoop.
Still a common name for it is Superman. To be honest, when Hudsonville started making it in about the 1980s, we probably called it that as well, moving more towards the Super Scoop for probably the same reasons you just brought up. But you'll still see the colors of kind of that DC comic in there with the red, yellow, and blue.
And so I met Lilly from Hudsonville.
My name is Lilly Kraai. I'm an HR generalist at Hudsonville Ice Cream.
At a cute little community ice cream shop that you walk up to in Grand Haven. It's called Norm's, and they hand dip Hudsonville ice cream, including Super Scoop.
Oh, do you want it? I'm gonna get a Super Scoop, but can I make it like two scoops, like something bigger?
Yeah, make it kid. It's bright colors, it's fun, it attracts your eye, but it also tastes great. It's actually 3 flavors in one. So yellow is vanilla, blue is the beloved Blue Moon flavor, and then the red is black cherry. Everybody describes it a little different. Some people feel like they get a Tutti Frutti Fruit Loop flavor. Some people go a little bit pistachio flavored. It's just kind of whatever your brain thinks it is what you taste.
All right, Zeffie. What do you think about Superman ice cream?
You can't really taste all the flavors.
Individually?
Yeah.
So if you had to describe what that tastes like to somebody, what would you say?
It's like vanilla ice cream.
What, vanilla? Just vanilla?
Vanilla with extra sugar.
With extra sugar. Sweeter vanilla.
Junie, what do you think? I think it's just the nostalgia of it. Growing up in the area, everybody always had Hudsonville ice cream. It started as a dairy co-op in 1926 in Hudsonville, Michigan. Started with just a handful of flavors. And then in 2003, the Ellens family bought the company, moved it to Holland. So that's where we are locally, making all your favorite ice creams in Holland now.
Do you like Super Scoop because you work for Hudsonville, or do you like, I'm going to get Super Scoop?
For me, it's nostalgic. It reminds me of being a kid getting ice cream at the bowling alley down the street from our house. Even like seeing it and like the smell like comes to my mind of the bowling alley and like being there with my family. And I think a lot of people relate to it in that way.
So because it was a flavor that started in the 1980s and was like a really childhood nostalgic thing in the 80s, do you think that we see more adults ordering Super Scoop than maybe you did in the 80s, where people maybe favored butter pecan or something that was a little more traditional?
I think we're all kids at heart, so maybe if your kid orders it, you're going to sneak a few scoops as well because everybody just still loves it.
It feels like it's ubiquitous when you're here, but it really is like maybe very centrally located in Michigan. Is that true?
As far as I know, yeah, it seems to be a Midwest thing. If you mention it to people kind of outside Michigan or in different states, they're a little bit caught off guard, like, we don't have that where I'm from. But here, if you hear Super Scoop, Superman, you know exactly what we're talking about.
The most Michigan-y flavor.
Exactly. You might be able to find it in like Ohio or Wisconsin, but it's really a Michigan ice cream all the way.
But did it start here?
April. There was really only one way to pressure test the Krypton Dairy origins of Superman ice cream, and that was with a historian. So if you'll indulge me here, I'm going to head over and talk with the Michigan archivist who just happened to be interested in this question as well.
All right. The continued rigors of ice cream tasting and debating when we return.
So when I was looking for a historian to help me decipher whether Michigan can lay claim to Superman ice cream, I reached out to the state's official archivist.
I'm Mark Harvey. I'm the state archivist of Michigan.
And he responded, "So funny you ask. I've already been looking into this."
Yeah, I feel like I probably shouldn't admit that, but yes. Yes, I was.
Why?
It goes back to family discussions about the flavor of Blue Moon, which is an essential ingredient in Superman. And so, as we're trying to discern what the actual flavor profile of Blue Moon was, I then entered into the discussion of my deep love for Superman and that, central component was Blue Moon and it was from Michigan. And then I had to start fact-checking myself because, I'm an archivist and historian, so I wanted to make sure. So that 100%. I went down a deep rabbit hole.
And if we're going to call this a Michigan flavor, the Michigan archivist should be able to say definitively it is.
Yeah, I felt that weight.
Okay, so the internet will have you believe that Stroh's is where it started, and the logic is something along the lines of, well, Stroh's is a Michigan brand. And in the Depression era, they moved to making ice cream rather than beer. And therefore, and subsequently, they started Superman. Mm-hmm. I mean, that seems like the logic. And that's about all the connections I can find. Beyond that, can you find any more evidence?
No. And when you're actually tracking down the sources, you're really left with the internet, and usually those searches typically start at Wikipedia. And so that's where you see what you just described in detail in words. And I feel like everyone's referencing that Wikipedia article because nowhere else, and really for this sort of topic, there's not going to be lots of archival collections. So we rely on newspapers. And so, as you know, when you do a deep newspaper search, there's nothing.
Right. When we look at the sort of rampant nature of, I don't know if I'd call it misinformation, but it's almost like circular repetition of each other's stories that maybe start with Wikipedia. Is this something that you feel like you have to combat a lot as a historian, that it's sort of circular storytelling where everybody's referencing each other's videos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I have just so many examples of that where you actually, and I always feel like the naysayer, but I always want to fact check the story, right? So, and sometimes it checks out oftentimes it doesn't.
So what did we find when you and I were both looking at different newspaper collections and archives, and what did we find? What did you find that was interesting about the history of Superman in newspaper clippings?
Well, do you want to work backwards from your original theory?
Yeah.
Okay, your original theory was that it was really the Superman movie in 1978?
Yeah, 1978, 70. It was the late 70s.
Yeah.
The Christopher Reeves movie exploded the popularity of Superman for another generation of young Gen Xers and old millennials, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the ice cream came around.
That was your theory.
That's my theory.
Right. And so of course I tried to debunk it. Immediately.
Yes. Okay. Right.
Well, I mean, it sounded good. And I remember as 8, 9-year-old getting Superman ice cream at various locations in the East Lansing area. That made sense. But we did some newspaper searching, and it's actually really problematic. It doesn't.
My theory or the newspaper
Well,
search?
your theory was problematic because there's definitely mention of it beforehand. Not of Stroh's, but you go back as far as 1941, and I think we've both found the same article.
Yeah.
It's from a newspaper in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And it was for Folo's newsstand selling an ice cream, a brick ice cream. I have the ad here. It says, try the new Superman brick ice cream. It's a 3-color brick. That checks out.
Yep.
This doesn't. With whole nut meats. Leave it to Wisconsin to mess up something.
Right, exactly. It didn't say cheese curds, though, so it's a start.
Okay, that's fair.
The 1941 ad threw me off, especially because it's sort of an outlier. Where did you start to see more prolific advertisement for Superman ice cream?
There was a mention in the Flint Journal, July 3rd of 72, and that ad talks about Superman ice cream being red, yellow, and blue ice cream that quote, tastes like a red sucker. That's really appealing. So that was the only one until, now this gives your theory some credence, until after the Superman movie in the 80s is when you really start to see it explode. And then in the late 90s and 2000s, everybody talking about where it came from.
Right.
Right. And so there was all this mystery. So I don't want to completely invalidate your theory. I think the popularity of it, not surprisingly, took off after the movie.
Yeah.
And also just the 80s were the new Technicolor. Anything that was
absolutely
fluorescent was good.
When people talk about Superman ice cream now, they talk about it with a sense of nostalgia. Mm-hmm. But the sense of nostalgia is that, like, Superman ice cream is a force of nature that has been here forever. But I feel like looking through newspaper clippings with you has shown me that it hasn't really been around forever. It's just been around forever for those of us who are middle-aged adults now. And so therefore it feels like it must have been something that predated us.
Yeah. I mean, so we could refine it and say we haven't found evidence that it was, overwhelming evidence that it was around back to when Wikipedia said it started in the 20s, or early 30s, which predates Superman itself, right. Which that I don't even understand that. So maybe it was the flavor profile called something else that then when the original Superman came out in the 30s, the comic, that they altered the name at that point. We can't prove any of that. So, yeah, I think and this maybe is less historian and more sociologist, but like we like to have collective memories. Right? We like to have touchstones, especially good ones. And face it, like the last few generations have had a lot of negative touchstones. And so to have something like Superman ice cream that you either love it or you hate it, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that we like to own together. So there's maybe a communal aspect of it. And so as much as I want, for whatever silly reason, to be able to say, yep, Michigan owns Superman, I wish we owned Blue Moon too, but I think Wisconsin probably has a better claim to that. There's not really the evidence there to make that claim.
All right, so what are your main takeaways? What can you tell us we know definitively as a historian?
We know that Superman ice cream possibly...
This is already getting bad.
Okay, wait.
Okay.
Let me. We have definite evidence that Superman ice cream was in circulation prior to the 1978 motion picture. We have also contrary evidence that some folks in Wisconsin were serving it in 1941 or something under that name, although they put nuts in it.
We don't even know what 3 flavors were in that brick ice cream.
We don't.
Yeah.
So we'll just discount the 41.
Yeah.
So we have 72 in Flint.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I'll take it. So Michigan has a strong claim to Superman ice cream. There's no question. But no single company owns it, and no one can lay claim to it. Superman is an ice cream of the people.
Hear, hear.
But you know, April, there's still one more question that Nicole asked that we really haven't answered.
What is that?
Is there a connection between Superman, the superhero, and our state? And you know what? There is.
Oh?
Okay, not one, but 2 Superman actors are from Michigan. Dean Cain was Superman of Lois and Clark, and he's from Mount Clemens.
I knew about that.
And Tom Welling, Superman of Smallville, graduated from Okemos High School.
Oh.
Okemos. So, yeah, Superman, Okemos. But none of those came before Superman ice cream. The ice cream was the first.
Dessert before all else. Truth, justice, and the American way. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, April.
So that's Nicole's question. If you have questions about other Michigan signature dishes, send them to us. We have an email account all set up for this. It's onhand@michiganpublic.org. Maybe, like Nicole, you'd like to record a voice memo on your phone and send that to us. You can also go to our website. It's michiganpublic.org/onhand. There's a super easy submission form there where you can submit your question or a comment. If you have ice cream stories of your own, we'd be very glad to hear those too. This episode of On Hand was produced by our executive producer, Laura Weber-Davis. Other producers are April Van Buren, Ronia Kabansag, Michelle Jokish-Polo, and our senior producer, Mercedes Mejia. On Hand is a production of Michigan Public, which is a broadcast service of the University of Michigan. This is April Baer. We'll see you next time. Take care.